My brothers and sisters, yesterday I watched Netanyahu stand beside Marco Rubio in Jerusalem and make the most desperate accusation I have heard in decades of international politics. He declared that China is providing support to Hamas and that Arab countries are preparing to besiege Israel, speaking with the confidence of a man who has run out of rational explanations for his actions. The moment I heard these words, I knew we were witnessing something historic, the moment a cornered leader revealed his true paranoia to the world. When Beijing heard Netanyahu's accusations, they dismissed them as delusional and dangerous. When Arab leaders saw themselves painted as conspirators, they recognized that diplomacy with Israel had become impossible. This is not merely about false accusations. It is about watching a man who bombed Qatar now blame China for his isolation, a man who struck sovereign nations now insisting the entire region conspires against him. Let me tell you exactly what Netanyahu said that shocked even his American allies. Standing in Jerusalem, with Rubio visibly uncomfortable beside him, Netanyahu claimed China was financing Hamas operations through backdoor channels and coordinating with Arab governments to economically strangle Israel. No evidence, no proof, no documentation. Just accusations hurled like grenades at the nation that has become Israel's biggest economic partner after the United States. According to Netanyahu, Chinese investments in the Middle East served only one purpose: to encircle and weaken the Jewish state through proxy support for terrorist organizations. The silence in the room was deafening. Even Rubio, America's most hawkish Secretary of State, refused to endorse Netanyahu's conspiracy theories about China. Within 6 hours of that press conference, Beijing's response shattered what little credibility Israel still had in Asian markets. Netanyahu's desperate lies cannot hide his government's isolation following illegal strikes on sovereign nations. China's foreign ministry declared, but they went further than words. China announced an immediate review of all Israeli technology partnerships worth $8 billion annually. Chinese companies began withdrawing from Israeli startups, and Chinese universities suspended academic exchanges with Israeli institutions. Israel's prime minister has chosen paranoid accusations over peaceful cooperation, Beijing declared, warning that China would respond to lies with consequences. My brothers and sisters, Netanyahu's claim that Arab countries were besieging Israel backfired spectacularly. Instead of denying conspiracies, Arab leaders embraced them. If supporting Palestinian rights means besieging the aggressor, then we proudly accept that description. Saudi Arabia's foreign minister announced within hours. The UAE suspended all normalization talks. Bahrain recalled its ambassador. Even Egypt, Israel's oldest Arab partner, issued statements backing regional efforts to contain Israeli aggression. Netanyahu had created the very coalition he claimed already existed. For decades, Israel managed regional tensions through careful diplomacy and strategic alliances. They never accused major powers of directly supporting terrorism without absolute proof. Nor did they brand entire regions as conspirators without evidence. But after bombing Qatar, losing African support, and watching Asian partners reconsider their ties, Netanyahu now faces unprecedented isolation. Instead of admitting mistakes, he chose the desperate path of blaming everyone else. China supports Hamas became his excuse for Beijing's condemnation of the Qatar bombing. Arab siege became his explanation for why regional partners abandoned normalization. As Netanyahu spoke, Marco Rubio's reactions revealed everything about America's position. When asked to confirm Chinese support for Hamas, Rubio deflected. When pressed on Arab conspiracies, he shifted to vague remarks about regional complexities. Even Washington's toughest anti-China hawk refused to endorse Netanyahu's conspiracy theory. That silence spoke louder than any declaration. Even Israel's most reliable ally would not follow him into fantasy-based diplomacy. The consequences came quickly. Within 24 hours of Netanyahu's accusations, Chinese investment funds withdrew $2 billion from Israeli tech companies. Asian sovereign wealth funds suspended reviews of Israeli partnerships, but the deeper wound was reputational. When a nation's leader makes unsubstantiated claims against the world's second largest economy, international credibility evaporates overnight. Israeli bonds slipped, tech stocks fell. Diplomatic missions received protest notes from 12 Asian governments. As an African leader who has built partnerships with China, India, and Arab nations, I understand what Netanyahu fears: a multipolar world where Israel cannot act with impunity. When China invests in African development, he sees Hamas support. When Arab nations pursue independent foreign policies, he sees conspiracies. When Africa defends its sovereignty, he sees threats. His worldview cannot accept nations acting on principle instead of obeying Israeli preferences. Yet Netanyahu's accusations achieved something extraordinary. They united his critics. China, Arab states, and the global South now share a common cause against Israeli aggression and deception. Countries that rarely coordinated foreign policy began sharing intelligence about Israeli pressure tactics. Nations that once competed for influence started collaborating on responses. Netanyahu has created the very international cooperation he claimed to fear. This moment carries a lesson for every leader who faces consequences for their actions. Accusations without evidence destroy credibility faster than admitted mistakes. Netanyahu could have acknowledged that bombing Qatar was controversial. He could have explained Israel's security concerns rationally. He could have sought diplomatic solutions to regional tensions. Instead, he chose conspiracy theories and paranoid accusations. The result is total international isolation. My brothers and sisters, Netanyahu's desperation has only strengthened the partnerships he fears most. When he claims China supports Hamas, he reminds the world why Asian-African cooperation matters, to resist Western-aligned aggression. When he warns about Arab conspiracies, he explains why regional solidarity is essential to protect sovereignty from Israeli strikes. His paranoia has become our propaganda. His fears become our blueprint. Close your eyes and imagine international relations in 2030. Israeli leaders making claims no one believes. Accusations that unite rather than divide their opponents. Paranoia that isolates rather than protects their interests. Netanyahu's China-Hamas conspiracy will be remembered as the moment Israel lost all diplomatic credibility, the moment when even America's hawks could not defend Israeli deception. My brothers and sisters, when future historians study the collapse of Israel's international standing, they will mark yesterday's press conference as the turning point. The moment when desperation replaced diplomacy, when conspiracy theories replaced coherent strategy. Netanyahu believed he could bomb Qatar and blame China, strike sovereign nations and accuse Arabs of conspiracies, act with impunity and escape consequences through paranoid propaganda. But the world is watching, recording, and responding. Truth defeats lies, facts overcome fantasies. International law survives even the most desperate accusations. The man who bombed Qatar yesterday blamed China for his isolation today. Tomorrow, he will learn that paranoia only accelerates the very isolation it claims to explain. We are witnessing the final collapse of a leader who chose aggression over diplomacy, conspiracy over cooperation, and lies over accountability. The world is taking notes, and the world remembers.